Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk EFL. I'm Millie.
And I'm James.
And this week we're locking in our Week 4 predictions for the Championship.
Before we start, shall we go through our Championship Week 3 results?
I guess.
Let's go. So Millie, you got 11 points and I got 18 points.
Wow, that's better than
I
last
know
week.
that is better than last week. So
You'd think otherwise from the comments.
right, now that's done, shall we get to it?
Let's go.
Right, starting off with Friday's fixture, Luton versus Queen's Park Rangers. What are you going to go for?
Yeah, Luton are really struggling so far, aren't they? They lost their last game 1-0 against Preston. A rejuvenated Preston, that is. But they find themselves in the bottom 3 at this early stage of the season. And QPR will be absolutely flabbergasted after that draw against Plymouth on the weekend. They had the chance to get their first 3 points of the season, but Plymouth just held on. Disappointing from QPR's point of view. I think I'm going to go Luton 1, QPR 1.
Yeah, another poor result for Luton against Preston. They should have done better there. And QPR, I mean, it was an entertaining game for the neutrals, but QPR had 30 shots on goal. But I think there's going to be a change of fortune for Luton. I'm going to say Luton 2, QPR 1. Next up, we have Burnley versus Blackburn. What are you going for?
A reality check for Burnley last weekend, losing 1-0 against Sunderland. Can they bounce back this week? And another good result for Blackburn on the weekend, 2-1 against Oxford. It was a quick response for them after going 1-0 down, and they look to have the better of the chances. My prediction is Burnley 1, Blackburn 1.
Yeah, I think it was a poor result for Burnley. Like you said, they did the one thing that they should always do. It's the golden rule. They should play to the whistle, and they didn't. And they were punished for playing musical statues. And Blackburn, overall more dominant. First goal well taken, and the second goal was a beauty. It's a really good win for them. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I'm going to go for Burnley 3, Blackburn 2. Next up, we have Cardiff versus Middlesbrough. What are you going for, Mill?
Cardiff got their first point of the season on Sunday, and who better to get it against than their rivals Swansea. It was also the first goal that they'd scored all campaign, but it's a tough game for them next. And Borough were the better team against Portsmouth, in my opinion. It was a defensive error that led to Portsmouth's second goal. Overall, I think Borough played well and probably deserved to win the game, but only came away with a point. I'm going to go for Cardiff 0, Middlesbrough 1.
Tight game.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I thought the Cardiff-Swansea game wasn't really that entertaining, especially seeing as it was a South Wales derby. But I do understand there is a lot at stake there. It is a good first point for Cardiff on the board. And for Middlesbrough, I'm sort of echoing what you say. Middlesbrough were the better side against Portsmouth. I think really and truly they should have won that game. But I'm going to go for Cardiff's first 3 points of the season, 2-1. Next, we have Coventry versus Norwich.
Coventry have had a really mixed start to the season. They were not the best team against Bristol City, in my opinion, but they did still come away with the point. And Norwich also getting a point against Sheffield United. It was a well-worked goal from Sargent. Both teams had chances. It's been a bit of a slow start to Norwich's season, but they will be glad to have Sargent scoring goals for them again. With Coventry's only win coming at home and Norwich's only loss coming away, I'm going to go home win, Coventry 2, Norwich 1.
Yeah, for Coventry, maybe they had an off day. I don't know. But it is a good point against a good Bristol City team. And for Norwich, like you said, Millie, Sargent's goal was really, really good. But I think a draw was a fair result for them. I'm going to go for Desmond 2-2. Another draw. Next up, we have Derby versus Bristol City.
Derby were outmuscled against Watford after a good start. Keeper was lucky it wasn't 3-1. Watford were the better side. Bristol City are unbeaten in the league so far. And what a goal by a Tanner. I feel like they probably should have put the game to bed actually with the amount of chances that they had. I'm going to go for Derby 1, Bristol City 2.
Yeah, I think it was a disappointing result for Derby, losing to Watford. They need to be more clinical, especially with clear-cut chances. Very, very wasteful. And for Bristol City, they're probably going to be disappointed not to win, having the majority of the chances in the game against Coventry. But they are unbeaten. I'm going to go for Derby 0, Bristol City 2. Next up, we have Leeds versus Hull.
Leeds were the much better side against Sheffield Wednesday on Friday. It was their first 3 points of the season, and after going 2-0 up, they managed the game well. Hull City were quite lacklustre against Millwall, and it's their third draw in a row. They didn't look that exciting going forward, bar 1 or 2 decent chances. And I think Millwall were actually the better team in that game. I can't see anything other than a home win here. I'm going to go Leeds 2, Hull 0.
Yeah, it was a really, really good result for Leeds. First 3 points of the season. They looked very strong and well organised. Deserved to win. And for Hull, kind of agreeing with what you're saying, they didn't really show up. They didn't really look that great. Overall, it was a pretty boring game. But I do think Millwall were slightly better than them. I'm going to go for Leeds 3, Hull 0. Next up, we have Millwall versus Sheffield Wednesday.
As I was just saying, Millwall were the better side against Hull. I think there'll be a mix of disappointment and relief for Millwall fans. First point on the board. But I think they probably could have won that game. They need to be better in front of goal. And it was a disappointing performance from Sheffield Wednesday at home to Leeds. I thought they'd give them a bit of a game, and to lose like that at home in a derby like that, I think is a bit concerning. I'm going to go for Millwall 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2.
I think it was a good point away from home for Millwall, but I can understand the fans being disappointed about that result. I think they should have won the game. And Sheffield Wednesday, not really a good performance against Leeds. I thought they were going to show up. I'm a bit disappointed not to see an entertaining game, really. It was pretty much all Leeds. And I personally think it's going to be pretty much all Millwall. I'm going to say Millwall 2, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Next up, we have Oxford versus Preston.
Mark Harris with a worldie against Blackburn, and that's 3-3 for him. But for the goals that Oxford conceded, I think they need to be doing better than that. I do feel like they're kind of holding their own in the league so far, despite losing 2-1 against Blackburn. And for Preston, it was a good 3 points against Luton, first 3 on the board. Their season has officially begun. I'm going to say Oxford 1, Preston 1.
Yeah, Mark Harris's goal was superb. Try and pick that out, anyone. But it was poor defending for the first goal that Oxford conceded. They did lose to the better side, really. But as you said, Oxford are really holding their own at the moment. It's really important that they've got a good goal scorer, and I truly believe that Mark Harris is going to be key in their survival this season. And for Preston, Paul Heckingbottom impact. Definitely a reaction win. Can they keep it up now with a bit of stability? I'm also going to go for Oxford 1, Preston 1. Our next game is Plymouth versus Stoke.
What a bonkers game Plymouth were involved in over the weekend. That was a draw that definitely would have felt like a win for Plymouth fans. It was a stunning equaliser from Whittaker, but then 2 reds. And they just held on brilliantly, didn't they? And for Stoke, I think despite losing the game, they did have some decent chances, but just couldn't find the goal. They made it difficult for West Brom, and they will be disappointed to come away with nothing. I'm going to go for Plymouth 1, Stoke 2.
Plymouth played really well and showed great spirit, barring those 2 sending-offs. They need to be disciplined, but I felt like it was that kind of game. Something like that was going to happen. And Stoke, they had some good chances, and I think they were unlucky not to get more goals. It was a relatively even game, but West Brom were just more clinical. But I think Stoke will get back on that winning wagon and beat Plymouth 2-0. Next up, we have Portsmouth versus Sunderland. What are you going for, Mill?
It was a 3rd draw in a row for Portsmouth, but I think this time they were lucky. It was a Borough defensive mishap that gifted their 2nd goal. And it's been an amazing start to the season for Sunderland. What a result for them. They were the better side, deserved to win, and they've now won 3 in a row. So I'm going to go for Portsmouth 0, Sunderland 2.
Portsmouth, good point considering. They sat in a few times and got away with a few Borough chances. And Sunderland, very, very good result. Strong side, and they're proving that they've got what it takes. But I think it's going to be a home win this week. I'm going to go for Portsmouth 2, Sunderland 0. Next up, we have West Brom versus Swansea.
I think West Brom were involved in a pretty even game against Stoke. They were just the more clinical side, and they got the win. And I think that Swansea will be quite disappointed with their result versus Cardiff, but at least they didn't lose. But I think it's going to be West Brom 3, Swansea 0.
Yeah, for West Brom, I think it was a good result, but I do think a draw probably would have been a fair result. They were just, as you said, more clinical. And for Swansea, I think it was a poor result for them. They were much better than Cardiff, but they just couldn't find the all-important winner. I am going for West Brom 2, Swansea 0. And last but not least, Sunday's fixture, Sheffield United versus Watford.
It was a fantastic goal to level the game for Sheffield United versus Norwich. They had some good chances early on, but I think a draw was a fair result. And Watford, only one of 2 teams that have that 100% winning record. They were the better team against Derby, and it could have been 3 or 4. I think they're looking really strong. But I think this is going to be a bit of a difficult game for both teams, so I'm going to go for Sheffield United 1, Watford 1.
Yeah, it was a great goal from Arblaster. Sheffield United did have some good chances, but a point, can't grumble about that. And for Watford, Tom Cleverley is doing bits for them so far. They'll be hoping that he keeps it up. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go for Sheffield United 2, Watford 2. So that's our Championship Week 4 predictions locked in. Let us know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Write your predictions in the comments. Lock them in below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. We're doing really well with the subscriptions. Just want to say thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time for our League 1 Week 4 predictions. Until then, see ya.
Bye.